I'm Lenny McGill. This program is dedicated to those of you who may someday be in a real gunfight situation. I hope the information contained herein will help you in your survival. Now, coming up, we're going to discuss and demonstrate the two most important things you can do to survive a gunfight. How-to tips and techniques for shooting on the move. Practice techniques that will help you improve your self-defense shooting. Concealed carry drills that relate to real self-defense. And simunition scenarios that demonstrate the skills we've discussed. Plus, we'll look at and analyze several hidden camera videos of real gunfights. What went right and what went wrong. All that and lots more is coming up on this program that I've titled Move, Shoot, Live. Have you thought about going this close? All right, let's discuss the basic concept of move, shoot, live. First of all, I want to demonstrate to you that I'm using an unloaded gun here. I do verify that it is unloaded, pull the trigger in a safe direction. This is basically a super Glock that we build up with the tactical light attached already. It's a very handy device, a great self-defense gun because the light is built into it. Touchpad here, turn the light on with just a squeeze of the pad. All right, so now we talked about the gun, let's talk about the concept, moving, shooting, living. Why to move? Well, first of all, let's assume these are my bad guys. These are my bad guy targets, all right? We have to understand that in a self-defense situation, me being a law-abiding citizen, I have really a distinct disadvantage. The bad guys can be armed with a gun, a knife, or a club, or just their physical presence. And I really cannot use my firearm or bring my firearm into play until this bad guy shows me that he is going to harm me in one way or another. He's going to affect my life with deadly force, or someone close to me with deadly force. He's going to shoot me, stab me, beat me with a club, or beat me with his fists. All right? The fact of the matter is that I can't draw my gun until he demonstrates that, so I'm at a distinct disadvantage. The disadvantage being that he's already armed. He's already shown me his intent. My only advantage, tactical advantage, is distance. Before the event even occurs, before he can be aggressive, my best play is to increase the distance from that threat. So if someone comes up and starts to posture, first thing I might want to do is just increase the distance, back up, get away from the threat. Give myself more distance, which in turn will give me more time to respond to what may occur. Now, if this guy has a club and it's a 4-foot 2x4, 4 foot long, his reach now is extended by 4 feet from just his naked or bare hand. So in a sense, I've got to be extremely cautious to increase that distance away from the threat. If he has a knife, we know that a person with a knife can lunge at you extremely rapidly, cut you before you have a chance to move, unless you are taking evasive action before he, the bad guy, starts to do something. And if he has a gun, even worse, because chances are that gun's going to be out and pointed in my direction before I can take some type of action. Or at least he's going for his gun before I can go ahead and draw my gun. So the concept of this program is to demonstrate how to move, when to move, and why to move. The why is pretty obvious. Bad guy has deadly force. I need to move out of the way. All right? If he's going to hit me with a club, I want to move. If he's going to shoot me, I want to move. The object in the whole game here is not to get hit with a bullet, with a knife, or with a gun, or his bare fist. It's much more difficult to hit a moving target than a stationary target. There's no way that in a self-defense situation, if this guy presents a gun to me, I'm going to be able to draw and beat him to the draw, because chances are he's got the gun out. And at these short self-defense distances, if you don't move, you're going to die, or at least you're going to be hit by gunfire. Because we've already demonstrated in several different programs that we've produced that at this distance, anybody, marksman or not, well-trained or not, accomplished with firearms or not, can hit the target with deadly accuracy. So, what that brings me to is the object of movement. Bad guy has a gun. First thing I'm going to want to think about is moving. Now, which way to move? Think about it. We know this gun is unloaded. I checked it now, checked it earlier. I'm going to hand it to my cameraman, have him hold it with one hand. He is the bad guy. He's pointing the gun at me. If he's at contact distance, basically this close, I've got one of two things to do. I can, one, move to the side, move back, or move forward and move the gun out of the way. All right? So there's really several different ways to move, not just two. But typically, people are going to think about going backwards to get away or sideways, one or the other. Have you thought about going forward? A guy is this close. The gun starts coming up as he's bringing it up to me. Do I have a chance to move and get that gun out of the way? Do I have the opportunity to divert that gun away from hitting me even as he's presenting it? If I'm this close, how much movement can I get to get back this far? Still a pretty easy shot, which will bring me to the next point. If I'm going to move away from that deadly force, one of my best ways would possibly be, instead of moving straight back, off to the side. See how much more difficult it is for the camera to track me, for the gun to track me? Make this guy make a shot. Make him track me. Make him move the muzzle so it's a more difficult shot. If I'm moving straight back, all he's got to do is pick the gun up and squeeze the trigger. If I move laterally, he's got to at least be lucky or be a pretty good shot. We all know as shooters that shooting moving targets is much more difficult than shooting a stationary target. And especially in a self-defense situation when tensions are high and adrenaline is high, if you introduce a little bit of movement, it's going to give you time to respond, draw your weapon, get the cover, and distance to get away from that threat. Because we also know the farther away you are, the better your chance of not getting hit. And if you don't get hit, you get to go home that night. And that's really the key there. So, recapping that close in, if you pulled a gun on me and you were this close, basically within contact distance, I have really three options. I can freeze like a deer in the headlights. Stop. Uh-oh. What am I going to do? I can aggressively lunge at you and try to rip that gun out of your hand. Divert it from my body, rip it out of your hand, because I know that if I get hold of that gun while it's in your hand and I get a good firm grip on it, I'm going to take it out of your hand. I'm going to break your finger right off. And even though it may fire one time, it's not going to cycle again. As I'll show you, that if you grab hold of the action of an automatic gun like this and the trigger's pulled, the bullet goes off, it's not going to rip your hand apart. It's going to stop the action of the gun, and it's basically now inert until it's been cycled manually. All right? With a revolver, same is true. If you grab hold of the revolver, you can actually stop the revolver from turning. You've got a lot of leverage, and all they've got is a little finger to pull and rotate the cylinder. So if you can grab hold of that cylinder, you can stop the gun from firing. So if you're this close, one of the things I may do is attack. I'm not going to stand back and run. Hey, if you're this close, I can get to you just as fast or faster than you can get to me. Now, another option, of course, is to move. And if I'm going to move, which way? Well, a lot of that will be determined by the type of terrain I'm in. Or if I'm out in the street and there's a car over there, I'm moving to the car. I'm going towards cover. If there's nothing around, I may move to the other side, the weak side of the shooter. If he's a right-handed shooter, the gun comes up, and which way do I want to go? Well, I could go to your right, which would make you have to track that way, which is more of a difficult shot than going to your left, which you track this way basically with your body. As, say, a football player running and throwing to the right, running to the right. It's easier to run to the right and throw to the right than it is to run to the left and throw with your right hand. So, chances are, in a real self-defense situation, you're not going to be thinking about all those things. But if you train yourself now here in practice, if you think about these things before something like this happens, at least you've had the time to think about it. Knowing that, one, I can get to you faster than you can possibly pull the trigger. Two, if I go straight back, I've increased the distance but I've still given you a pretty easy shot. Straight down, pull the trigger, bang. If I go diagonal, I think I make it a little bit more difficult for you, the bad guy, to hit me. Come out this way. Just get away. Increase the distance, increase the angle, give myself some time to draw my gun, to return fire, to get to cover. And that's really the key objective in the whole movement, is to give yourself time to make it a more difficult shot for the bad guy, because we're talking about guns here. If it's a club, obviously the farther I get away, the harder he's going to have to, try to hit me. He's going to have to run after me. And think about this. If it were this close, guy comes up with a club, and I start to move and he starts chasing after me, at least now I've increased my chance to draw my gun, present the gun at him. And maybe he'll stop running after me if he's only got a club and I've got a gun. Maybe not. If he's got a knife, let me tell you, knives are terrible weapons. Terribly effective, that is. They can cut you up, leave you to die before you know it. Just 2 or 3 slices, you could be standing death, pumping blood all over the ground. Even though you can pull your gun and shoot, you're still going to die. So if there's a knife involved, again, increase the distance. Put a car between you. Put a couch between you, a chair between you, anything. Don't let that person get at you with the knife. Don't let them touch you. Give yourself some time to get your gun out. And even if you can shoot this guy, if you do shoot the guy, keep your distance. He's not going to fall over like in the movies. You may shoot him 3 or 4 times, and he can still slab you and stash you and slice you up. So keep your distance. Get something between you. Increase your distance. Keep on moving. Get away from that bad guy. Get away from that knife. And if it's a gun, same thing is true. Increase your distance. Shoot until he falls. Still keep that gun up. Anything can happen. Coming up, we're going to demonstrate some of the movement drills, increasing the distance, and how to shoot accurately while moving. Right now, let's just talk about the standard. We're going back. Oh, bad guy, there he is. Go back, gun up. Okay, we're going to talk now about practicing shooting drills while moving. All right, now there's many different things we can incorporate into this. We can incorporate a draw from a concealment, but I want to keep it simple. I want to talk just really about the actual shooting itself and the moving itself, and work with my Super Glock here, like I said, with a tactical light, because this is the gun that I keep under my bed, and this is the gun that I want to practice with, and I work with the Glock 22 a lot. Now you can see I've got my 2 targets set up. Again, I like to use the typical IPSC target, but I can also default to just a standard pie plate, or actually picnic plate that you buy at the supermarket. It's 9 inches round. I've got 2 targets set up here. I can shoot it one at a time, or shoot drills where I shoot both targets. You can see this is your average standing man. Well, you know what's going to happen in a real gunfight? People are not going to be standing like that. They're going to be crouching. They're going to be down low. And you've got to practice shooting at these kind of targets. You're even going to find people way low, getting behind cars, laying down. So chances are when you get to the range, while this is fine for target shooting, it's good to practice your fundamentals, these are the kind of targets you want to shoot at for real self-defense practice. And that's what we're talking about here with this movement. All right, got my ears on, got my eyes on. Gun is still unloaded. I'll charge it up now. Most of this shooting is going to happen close up. It's going to evolve or start in a 3 to 5 foot circle. So there's no need to start way back, all right? We're assuming that something bad's happening. Bad guy says, hey, give me your money. Hey, lay on the ground. I want to take your wallet. Well, no way. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm not turning around and giving you my wallet. I'm not going to lay on the ground for you, okay? So somehow I've got my gun out. Like I said, we're not going to deal with the concealed here. We've got a full other program on that. But somehow I've got my gun in hand, whether it's in my house or whatever. There's the bad guy. He's got a gun pointed straight at me. Typical way to go back is to go straight back. Boom, boom, boom. You're doing 2 things. Increasing the distance, which gives you an opportunity to make it a more difficult shot for him. You're also giving yourself more time to evaluate the situation. All right? You could also be moving towards cover, which we'll talk about a little later. Right now, let's just talk about the standard. We're going back. Oh, bad guy, there he is. Come back, gun up. Okay? Now we can shoot a lot faster than that, but the object here is to see that front sight, have accurate hits, and then speed it up as we go along. All right, the concept on that movement is basically bring the gun up, see the front sight, walk slowly. You don't have to be an athlete here. The key is to increase the distance. We're not trying to be in a track meet here. We're trying just to get away, okay? So again, there's the bad guy. Uh-oh, there he is, coming back. You can see I can start to increase the distance rather fast. You look at that in slow motion, we'll give you a time there for how long it took me to go from point A back here to point B, which is now 1, 2, 3, 4, probably about 12 feet I covered there in that short amount of time. Okay, again, moving back is not what I call the preferable method of movement because, in a sense, it's a fairly easy shot. You can see, as demonstrated by my own shooting here, fairly easy to hit that target moving straight back. Hence, it's fairly easy for the target to hit me moving straight back. I will tell you that if someone is in this kind of situation with me, my first move typically is going to be to my left. Right-handed shooter, going that way, that means if he's here like this, that means he's going to go ahead and move his gun that way, which is a little bit more difficult. Typically, he's going to have his gun up in this position. Hopefully, he's not a skilled marksman. Hopefully, he's not very accomplished with firearms. So there he is. My first step is get away. All right? Make it a difficult shot for him. Give yourself that extra fraction of a second. Make him miss is really a key. Make that bad guy miss just by stepping aside. Step aside. All right? You don't have to be moving too fast. You don't have to be in a track meet. You just have to be moving. And you need to practice those techniques when you get to the range before it happens in a real world situation. Okay, there's bad guy. Maybe there's two of them, okay? This time I'm going to go bump, 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 bump. All right, you'll see as I get more and more distance, the difficulty increases dramatically. Here we go. Step. And again, keeping all my shots in my 9-inch plate. Down here, my low target. There's my first shot, and there's my second. You can start to see the angle as I start moving. So I missed just a little bit, but still an effective shot in a self-defense situation. So let's talk now about the actual shooting process. A lot of you are probably wondering, well, gosh, how do you do that? Well, it's really not that hard. Gun is now unloaded. If you think about it, the presentation of the firearm is really the key to the whole shooting process. If you can see the front sight while you're moving and keep it on the target while you're moving, you're going to have accurate shots. Again, we're not talking about large distances here. These are 12 to 20-foot shots. All right, they're not that far. So the object is, as you come up, present the gun. There's the front sight. Move, the front sight's still basically there. I'm tracking it. Now, I will tell you that every time I shoot, I see that front sight. But I don't stare at the front sight. I don't concentrate on it fully. I concentrate on my target more than I concentrate on the front sight. In this self-defense situation, I've trained myself over the years to be able to bring the gun up and index the gun to the same spot every time. So basically, at these short distances, when the gun is pointed like this, it is pointed where my eyes are looking. If I look at that paper plate, bring the gun up, there is the front sight. It appears in front of the target. So as I move, same as things, just same as true. It's just very natural. The front sight stays on that target, and that comes with dry fire practice. That's the thing where you can develop that skill by repetition of bringing that gun up every time, knowing that the front sight intersects with your eyes. If you look at my eyes, there's a line coming right out of my eyes. I'm looking at a target. Up comes the gun. There's the front sight intersecting. Same spot every time. That's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to bring the front sight to my line of sight and make sure my line of sight is fixated on my targets. And this skill becomes more important as you move because you don't have the leisure to sit there and study the sight picture. You're moving, and there's going to be some movement. you're going to have a little bobble. It's not going to be an exact sight picture as if you were a bullseye shooter or a target shooter. As you move, there's going to be some bobble. Accept that bobble. Understand that the distances are close, the target's relatively large. We're talking about human bodies here. So the larger the target, the easier it is to shoot. Again, a 9-inch kill zone is typically full center chest or even a headshot. And it's a very large target when you consider that most bullseye shooters are shooting at 1-inch bullseyes at 25 and 50 yards. I'm going to move towards the cover. I don't want to hug the cover. I want to get up there. I want to get down below. We've got 2 bad guys. And here we go. Let's discuss now another form of movement. We've talked about increasing the distance. Well, how about if you have to actually go towards the target? You'll find this surprisingly, refreshingly easy to do. Why would you want to move towards the target? Well, there's a couple of reasons that come to mind to me. 1, there's cover ahead. Or 2, bad guys have my wife. And they say, hey, we're going to shoot her, we're going to kill her, we're going to do something. Well, the fact of the matter is I'm going after them, okay? I'm not going to run away. I'm not going to negotiate. We've already talked about it. I'm coming after them. And I'm going to take my shooting and my skill and take it to the limit, and we'll hope everything works fine. All right. Got my 2 targets set up there. I've got a chair set up there, which you can see that was going to represent some form of cover. Okay, that's my objective. I'm moving towards the cover. You'll find that as you move towards the target, again, keeping that front sight in your focus, but not concentrating on it, concentrating more on the target, understanding that you've practiced enough to be able to hold the gun out and to know that when the gun is in that position, it is in line with your sight to the point where you're going to hit those relatively large targets at these relatively short distances. All right, there's my cover. I'm going to move towards the cover. I don't want to hug the cover. I want to get up there. I want to get down below. I've got 2 bad guys. And here we go. Got a little close to that cover because I don't have a whole lot of room here. Do it one more time. You'll find you can be extremely accurate. And again. Move to that cover. The object being that as you move, you're going to have some wobble. Accept that wobble. Move forward, see the front sight. And move forward as you go, keeping the front sight centered up on the target as best you can, understanding that the fundamentals that you incorporate are going to bring the front sight back online. The fundamentals of grip, body motion, movement, stance, the whole bit. As you come forward, there's going to be some bobble, but you're always fighting to bring that muzzle back online with your line of sight. Any discussion of movement in a self-defense shooting environment would not be complete without some discussion of the use of cover. And one of the most obvious and, well, I guess common uses of cover that we'll encounter in our lives is the use of a vehicle. Most gunfights are going to occur outside, and most places there's going to be vehicles, parking lots, on streets, all around. So the object is now, how do you use this vehicle for cover? How do you get to the vehicle for cover? Again, working with an unloaded gun here at this particular point. There are my 2 bad guys. Deadly force is presented. But the objective here is to get away from cover and to present my firearm in the meantime so that these guys don't chase me, all right? That's what the firearm's going to do. It's going to stop these guys from advancing onto me. So if there they are, get back, move back to behind that cover, get as far back behind the vehicle as you can, not wanting to hug the cover, but to use the angles of the vehicle to get back, use the corner of the vehicle, put as much metal between yourself and the bad guys as possible, and stay far enough away so that you can see all the corners, you can see the movement Which way is this guy coming? Coming around this way, you're ready to shoot, ready to respond, ready to get into more cover. If he's coming around this way, come around this way. You'll have the opportunity, if you stay back from cover, to see, and at this point, your sight will be your best ally. You've already created a distance. Now, where are the bad guys? Once you're down here, out here, you know, you don't want to go prone. You don't want to get on your one knee, two knees, because you limit your mobility. You want to be able to stay low, but keep yourself on your feet. Now, of course, this is kind of an athletic skill, but I tell you what, if someone's shooting guns at you, you're going to want to get low. You're going to want to be able to scan. You want to keep that gun pointed forward. So wherever you're looking, the gun is there. What you don't want to do is be over here like this, and all of a sudden here comes the bad guy and have to swing. All right? You also want to try to start to be tactical in the use of this cover and try to figure out where this bad guy is. Is he running away? He saw your firearm? Great. Is he coming after you? Can you look through the windows and see where he's at? Can you keep yourself away from that truck? Can you see some shadows underneath the car? Can you see some movement? Is he gone prone? If he's gone prone, hey, you know what? Start running. Increase the distance. Get away. Give yourself a lot of room. Guy goes prone or gets a defensive position, run to the next car. Get more cover. Keep going. The objective here is not to get shot. All right? That's what all this movement's about. Not to get shot by this scumbag who's pulling a gun on you. To be able to present your own firearm in an effective manner to keep him away from you. That's really what this gun is doing at this point. Not only are you trying to stop that attacker, stop him in his tracks, trying to keep him back away from you. Not only do you want to put him down, keep him away. By presenting the gun and getting cover, hopefully he's smart enough to know that, oh boy, I could get shot here. I better not pursue this good guy. I'll go find someone else. So now let's go ahead and demonstrate a little bit of the shooting techniques that we talked about earlier, using a vehicle as cover. Got my two targets. I would assume that most of these shooting situations are going to happen here up close. If the guy gets this close, brings a gun out, I've got really two options. Can I take that gun away from him? Can I create distance, seek cover, return fire? Hence, move, shoot, and live. That's what we're talking about here in this program, so let's go ahead and demonstrate that. There the bad guys are. Uh-oh, a gun is presented. I'm going to go diagonal towards my cover. Back up. Now, which way are they? Where are they? Where are they? Okay, gun's still ready to shoot. Stay ready. Maybe they left. Maybe they're trying to get a better position. If there's another car here, I'm on away. I'm getting as far away as possible. I'm not looking for a gunfight. I'm looking to go home. I'm looking to live. I'm looking to survive. See my shots here? First shot, second shot, not bad for movement. Two shots here, not bad for movement. The objective is moving diagonally, trying to get behind that cover, okay? We'll do it one more time. There they are. It's going to be my primary target now, the low guy. Got my cover back there. I know there's cover there. So now, give away. Stay back, look up, look up. Where are they? Are they coming around this way? Okay, so you can see we got fairly good accuracy moving diagonally away from the target. Now let's try one other scenario. And this is the one where we talked about moving towards the cover. So suppose we're walking down the street, there's a truck, and I spot two bad guys. Here they are, 15 or so feet away. The object is to possibly move towards the back of that truck as I go, kind of sideways towards, diagonal towards the target. So I'm not really increasing my distance, but I am going for cover versus just leaving myself out here in the open. One of the things you may want to try, and something that's very difficult, and something that is debated by many, many shooting experts, but something you should try by yourself, is to shoot with one hand as you're moving to the right. So there I am, boom, boom. Can you move faster? Are you more agile? Are you more accurate? Well, these are all questions that would come into play. If you can move faster, and chances are you can, moving to the right with just versus trying to do this, because that's much more awkward. Chances are you're going to move faster, but are you going to be more accurate? Are you going to have more effective shooting? Well, that's something you've got to experiment with. Chances are with one hand shooting on the move, it's not going to be as effective as with two hands. With two hands, again, incorporating that sight, line of sight. Here you start to just throw the gun out there. You're kind of getting into luck there. Let's go ahead and give it a try, though. I'll put my ears on here and charge the gun up and see if we can do some effective one-hand shooting. All right, here I am walking down the street. There's my two bad guys. Two bad guys. I see them. Uh-oh. Well, there I am. I'm back away from the target. Did I have any hits? Let's go see. I got the target once here and a miss, and I can kind of feel that miss. And here it looks like I've got one shot and a miss. So let's try it again with two hands now, all right? Again, I'm not going to move as fast. I'm going to be a little bit more deliberate. Coming up. There they are. And let's see my shots. Two shots right here, two shots right here. So obviously a little bit more accurate with two hands, and I think that's to be expected when moving. Now the compromise is you're going to move a little slower. But the fact of the matter is, possibly you want to be more accurate so you can stop those guys from shooting at you, stop them in their tracks, deter them from eliciting any more deadly force upon your body. Let's try just one more thing here. We've already moved towards the cover. We've moved away from it. We've moved diagonal. How about moving again straight back, trying to just increase the distance as much as possible, okay? So all we're going to do is go straight back. There the bad guys are. Take big steps. How fast did I move? How much did I move? Will the gun deter those bad guys from coming up? Those are the questions that can be answered only by in a case-by-case scenario. We don't know what's going to happen. These are dynamic bad guys. They may see the gun and run. They may get hit and keep coming. They may get hit once and fall over. They may scatter. Anything can happen. You've got to be prepared for that anything. And the way to do that is to always increase your distance, no matter what. That's what you've got to start thinking about. No matter how good a shot you are, no matter how fast you are, you've got to come up with a way to increase your distance from the threat, because anybody can shoot you. I don't care how good or bad they are, anybody can shoot you when they're this close. So find a way to increase the distance, increase the angle to make it a tougher shot for these bad guys. Okay, this next tactic we're going to talk about is somewhat unusual and something that I've developed over the course of years in the thinking process of what would I do if someone presents a gun to me? What would I do if someone put that gun right in my face? Well, I've already talked about the fact that I could grab hold of them. I can retreat backwards. I can draw my gun and shoot. Again, move, shoot, live. the object here in this exercise is to start to use some of the tools you have to increase your chance of survival. Again, remember, at this distance, at these close distances, chances of being hit are extremely great. You're going to get shot. Now, where do you want to get shot? Well, the first thing that I want to think about is moving away, getting out of the way. If I see that barrel pointed at me, I want to get out of the way. And you're going to see people do and contort their body in a lot of different ways. The place I don't want to get shot is in the head. Headshots are usually fatal. They're usually going to put you out of commission one way or another. Now, there's a lot of people who've survived, but chances are you get shot in the head and life is going to be different. As well as the core of your body, the center core where your heart, lungs, liver, kidneys are, right in this area right here, everything intersecting. You don't want to be hit in this area either. So I've come up with this exercise that keeps these things in consideration. Suppose you're the bad guy. You point a gun at me. The first thing I'm going to want to do is move. I want to move backwards. Now, as that gun, as I see that muzzle, as I see the, again, unloaded gun, I see the front of that muzzle and I see it pointing right at me, I'm going to instinctively move out of the way. I'm going to contort my body to get out of the way. And that's what I want to talk to you about, is using this other hand here to not only help me get out of the way, but to block my vital areas. Okay? Again, I'm using the unloaded gun here. I'm going to simulate a concealed carry draw. You're the bad guy. Here comes the gun. I want to move, and I want to block my head, my core, with this arm. My left arm, my off arm, as I go for my gun. I want to block that shot. I want to get lucky, if I can, and have you hit me in the arm versus the head or the chest. I would rather take the shot here than up here. I'd rather lose this arm than lose my brain. So, thinking about that, there's the muzzle. What am I going to do? Going to move, draw, protect my vitals, keep on moving, present the gun to the target. The object is to get out of the way, not to get shot at all. But again, at these close distances, chances of getting shot are extremely high. So, if you're going to get shot, you might as well take it in a non-vital organ, somewhere you can still go home that night. All right? So I've developed a technique where it's basically, there's the bad guy, move, draw, boom. Get that hand up there, block your head, block your organs with your arm, okay? Use that meaty part of your arm, use your hand, get in front of that muzzle as you draw the gun. Object being, I don't want to get hit, again, in the head or in the chest. Now we can take that to our live fire drills here. I switched now to a little mini Glock 27 and 40 caliber. And I'll be shooting just the one target here, incorporating that drill. I'm not working from concealment because I want you to be able to see the whole motion. Did a lot of this on the advanced concealed carry video. Again, we're here at these contact distances. At these distances, people get shot, so I've got to increase the distance. I've got to block my body from his round. If he's going to get lucky and hit me, hey, let's take it in the arm, okay? So there he is. Up comes the arm, move back. There's my shot. Let's do it again. Nice and slow. Again, your movement, you don't have to be a track star here. You just got to move somewhat. So hand up, block yourself. Hoo. All right. Hitting my target, feeling good, looking good. I'm taking care of the fundamentals. I want to block my face and move, same time, same objective. Get out of the way, draw the gun, see the sight. Okay, see the sight as you move. The object of this tape is to move first, then shoot. So we want to make it a hard shot for this bad guy. There's my bad guy coming straight back. Block my body. I'm coming back. Draw my gun. See the sight. That's what it's all about. Now we'll speed it up a little bit. Bad guy, there is hoop. Bad guy, there is hoop. being able to get that hand up and block your body. And that's what I want you to remember in this segment of tape. The things I want you to start to incorporate in your dry fire practice is to think about the dynamic situation. The target, the bad guy, not going to stand still. Gun's not going to be in a standing still area. He may get lucky, may be able to shoot you. Hey, why not block that shot? If you've got a briefcase, you've got a bag of groceries, you've got anything, get it up in front of the guy. Give him something to shoot besides your head, besides your vital organs, while you take the time to go for your gun. So there he is. Get it up. Whew. And learn to bring that hand up instinctively. A lot of the trainers that I know, they talk about leaving the hand right here in a concealed carry draw so you can meet it up. Well, that's great for competition, but this is not competition. That's really the typical scenario for competition draw. Hand comes up, you're ready, eat, boom, shoot. See your sight, squeeze the trigger, all right? Well, again, what good is that hand doing down here while you're doing all that drawing? And you certainly can't be standing still. So why not put that hand up and draw? Doesn't take any more time, doesn't take any more effort. All it takes is training and practice. You've got to train yourself to block, to shield your body. And you can only do that with practice and repetition. So if something does happen, first thing is block. Get out of the way. Move, shoot, live. The key to survival is awareness. In this next scenario, we're going to show a scene where this young lady walks through her car, head down, hands on the keys, really not paying attention to her surroundings. The key objective is to know who's around you so you have the time to avoid an incident. You'll notice that the young lady is now more aware of her surroundings. She's got her head up. She sees a potential threat and goes to the other side of the car with her hand on the gun. She now has the time to make a decision.
Hey, what do you want?
Need a ride.
I don't give rides. Stay back. Stop. I've got a gun.
To keep that bad guy away from her. Okay, here we are with the simunition segment of this program. What we're trying to bear out or to prove is that some of this movement skills, some of the movement skills and movement drills that we have practiced and seen throughout this program are actually going to work. And we're going to play it free-for-all with my bad guy shooter over here. And let me tell you, first of all, that he is not just any shooter. He's a law enforcement officer, an excellent competition shooter, and a guy that I've known for many years, and he knows how to handle a gun. So I'm expecting that I'm going to get shot no matter what I do. The question is, can I limit some of that shooting? Can I limit the effects that he'll have with his good skills by moving both away from the distance, or away from the target or the threat, and in a lateral or diagonal motion to make him have to track me, okay? Now what we're doing here is we're shooting simunitions, and this is the simunition shell. It's basically a small little paint pellet that will project out of the regular gun with just the primer only. Okay, there's no gunpowder in here. It's designed for training purposes for law enforcement. We're using simunitions. I'm going to be working from concealment with my 442. Again, using simunitions. This is something that you should not try at home. We're doing here only for information purposes. And if you'll notice over there on the field, I've got a couple different lines. I've got 4 different lines laid out. Each one of those lines is 5 feet apart, just to give you an idea of the distances we're talking about. Let's go ahead and get started with our first little scenario. Well, let's see what happened. You took a shot. How fast did it go? Where did you aim?
I was aiming right there where you're running, but I mean, you can see what I get.
Where was it? Oh, it was right back here. Okay. So you behind me?
Yeah.
So I got there faster.
Way behind.
Okay. All right. So the point we're trying to make there on that scenario is that if you have some distance, what we're talking about here is 20 feet, and you have some cover, get to the cover first. That is really the lesson there. You can get to the cover before he has a chance to even react. I knew there was a wall there, and I just went for it. Don't need to draw my weapon at all. I'm just trying to get out of the line of fire and get the cover first before I do anything else. All right, this time we're going to try a little something a little different. He's got the gun in a waistband position, kind of the bad guy position. And we're going to try to simulate a scenario where a bad guy comes up and says, hey, I got a gun, give me your money. And at that point is when I'm going to go ahead and have a chance to draw my gun, and he'll respond to me, all right? That way, we're kind of assuming that the bad guy thinks he's got the upper hand, that you're just going to lay down and you're going to say, okay, here's my wallet. And he'll have to respond to my violent action. So let's see how it works. Well, I got shot here, I know that.
I got shot here. I know I got hit twice, but it's hard to tell.
You have the vest on.
I can see the paint, so I know I got shot there. You see that?
Yeah.
In the arm. I think I might hit lower. But
Well,
I could hear the hits on
How
it.
many shots did you get out?
I shot three.
3, I thought.
Yeah, and
I got 3.
and I was pretty darn close, so I don't think I missed it all. I know I got shot right here. I could feel this one, but I didn't feel anything else. Now, in that scenario, who got the first shot off?
You did.
Okay.
And actually, if realistically, I think that the first shot was here,
Uh-huh.
that I would have dropped the gun possibly.
Possibly, yeah. But so was I able to get out before you got yours out?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll replay that back in slow motion and check it out. All right, this time we're going to try it at 10 feet. And what we're going to try to do and try to emulate here is the fact that, you know, the acting part is thrown out of the window. All we're trying to show now is that the guns are coming into play. Joe's going to respond from my action of going to draw my gun. He's going to have his gun in hand, so we're not really entering his draw into the picture. We're entering my draw from my action to get my gun is when he's going to come up. Now, the key is for me to move and to see if he moves at all. And again, to try to block my face to see if I can block some of his shots and get a good clean shot on him. I want to stand tough a little bit. I'm going to move just a little bit less than I have in the last several scenarios. See if I can really get a good clean shot on him. To make something happen. I fired 3 shots. You got all 3 off. I got hit here again. I know I got hit here in the chest.
Saw that.
Okay. And I don't know. I think I know I got hit here. It's probably this going coming this way. This one I got hit here somewhere. I don't know if you felt it. Do you get hit at all?
I felt something maybe going by my left ear,
Uh-huh.
but I never got it. Don't think I got a direct hit unless there's something
Yeah.
there.
I don't
because-
see anything on the vest. And you know, I think. Yeah, I didn't get hit that time. That's the old one. I don't think he hit me. Yeah. So that time what I did is I was trying to be a little bit more lateral in my motion, a little bit more oomph to get out of the way, and I think that really helped. I think you know, versus moving straight back. Did I get hit or you got hit?
From him
Oh, that-
bouncing off of my knuckle.
Okay, so you got that's you. Yeah. So I hit you in the hand, and I don't know if I hit you anywhere else, but again, you know, I really made a conscious effort to move laterally. And your motion was, I think, very typical. You know, boom, boom, boom. You know, trying to all of a sudden, wow, he's got a gun. I'm getting out of the way. and you one-handed shooting, and you missed. I think you missed a lot, and I was lucky enough to get one, got them both come up and tag you. So cool. That was good. That was a good.
You got me in the knuckle, which.
Yeah, that would have theoretically the gun would have fallen
behind.
down. Yeah, and, you know, chances are you'd have been.
Because with the way you hit me, it would have shot right up through my hand if that were a real
Right.
round, because it went right in between the knuckles.
Good. Good. Okay, great. That was great. I think that lateral movement really is a key factor to the whole thing. If you saw that again in slow motion, stepping sideways, getting out of the way, getting that gun, give yourself a chance to get out of the line of fire and make that guy have to track you. It's a harder shot for him. The harder it is to shoot, the better off you're going to be. Oh. Ow. I'm dead. That was a hard shot. Right here.
I saw it hit you.
Yeah, good pectoral shot. He nailed me right here. I think he got me twice, but the first shot, there it is. And I was at an angle like this. So, man, that bullet went right through my body. You may have to start thinking about, unless you think that guy's really going to shoot you, just give him your money, you know, and hopefully he'll go away. I mean, that could be the other option. I mean, because you nailed me. Of course, you knew where I was going, too. Did I hit you? Really? Aha. Because I didn't get hit.
I didn't even expect the gun coming out.
Did you expect me to go that way?
No.
So I faked him out a little bit. Hopefully that was part of the trick there, that he didn't know I was going to go that way. Unfortunately, because our cover set up here, he knows I'm going that way. But I got you. There's that Masad Ayub theory, gun hand, twice now so far, and one in the leg.
It's a low shot.
But I guess the reality of that is one, I fooled you. And I went, you know, I was trying to add an element of surprise to that. And plus, by going laterally again, getting that gun up, I got a chance to squeeze him off. And you missed. I mean, that's funny that you missed. Well, you started moving too, right?
Well, I didn't know where you were going. I didn't
Right.
know, you took me off guard, and I just thought, okay, what's happening? And I tried to shoot you.
Right. Again, I think that lateral movement, again, it makes it hard to track, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously,
Well, first of all, you know, it's not like you're going to take the sights in and follow or lead. You don't have time.
right.
You know, and I think they're in just as much of a panic as a criminal element. They're in a panic because now it's not what they expect.
Right. Right. That's right. They're not expecting you to pull a gun.
Or even to move and run in a lateral where it's more of an offensive or a defensive lateral movement to
Right.
give yourself an advantage, and all of a sudden there's gunfire in your direction.
Well, I feel good about that one because I won. I didn't get shot in the heart. All right, now what happens when there's multiple assailants? And this is happening more and more in crimes today. So we've got two bad guys down here that we're going to try to simulate. They've come up, they both have weapons. One guy's not going to be pointing his weapon at me. He's kind of looking around, the lookout guy. The other guy may have his weapon at me or kind of just thinking he's going to shoot me. I'm going to move. I'm going to increase the distance, and I'm going to draw my weapon. I'm going to shoot back. Let's see how we do, okay? Come on.
No chance. No chance.
Neither
You
did
hit
I.
me right here before I even.
You got me too.
I
Right
hit you
dead
too?
dead middle of my chest.
Well, it,
Right here.
I missed you.
so much for agility if on my ass, but at least I shot. Well, we hit him, so you know I guess that's the key. So, I guess really, if you're this close, there is an opportunity to deflect and move.
It's
Yeah.
just letting them feel that you're giving them what they want. You know.
Right. At what point do you know that I have a gun?
You don't.
I didn't know
When
until
you
the shots
shot.
were fired.
Really?
Yeah. I push the gun and I think you're running.
Yeah.
and I was gonna, come around, maybe you do a retaliatory, just shoot you because you pissed me off or something. But you're shooting at us before, and
Yeah.
that's, right there.
So really, the action beats the reaction.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Well, let's do it again. Let's try one more. Surprised I shot you, actually. I'm really surprised. It's all right. All right, this time what I want to illustrate is a scenario where the bad guy comes up and actually makes contact with you. And I'm not going to shoot him, but what I'm going to try to prove is that my action, my going for his gun is actually quicker than he can be to pull the trigger. My action's faster than his reaction. Let's see if this plays out in this little scenario. And now I want you to try to shoot me this time,
Okay.
but wait until I move. It's hard for someone to pull the trigger when they're that close, even that close. It's hard for him to react to my hand. So if the guy ever gets so close to you, one of the things you can do is take that gun out of his hand. And let me show you just one other thing. We're not going to do it here, but I don't want you to take your finger off the trigger. Go ahead and just hold the gun. And I'm not going to yank the gun. Go ahead and put it up here. I'm not going to hurt you here. But if the guy's got his finger there, and once you get a hold of it, you've got such a distinct advantage. Don't be afraid of the gun going off in your hand. At this point, it's basically yank, coming right out of there. You can step in, let him do whatever he wants, but get this gun out of him. Another thing you can do too, and even if he's got his finger on the trigger, is come up around and yank. And once it gets at in a weird angle, but you've got so much leverage on the front of the gun, even if he squeezes that first shot off him, you've got control of the muzzle, you've got it out of your way, you can yank the gun away from the guy and basically take his finger with you if you really want to. So if anybody ever comes this close, they're too close, and you can react, you can act faster than they can react. I'm ready to go, just beat me. So there it was. I'm ready to go, just beat me. So there it was. So, and so the key is really you've got to go. You just got to go for it.
Yeah.
Get the gun out of your way, and I think that anybody can do that. Especially when they're this close. What we're going to do now in this portion of the program is review some actual shooting incidents that were captured on surveillance type cameras. And the reason we're going to watch these is try to learn what went right and what went wrong, and what we may be able to do if we're placed in a similar situation. Now, this first program we're going to see, this first scenario we're going to see is live. It's actually real people, and there's a man's going to get shot, and he's going to get killed here. So if anybody doesn't want to see this, now's the time to turn off the tape, or now's the time to leave the room. All right, so there's a fair warning. Let's roll the tape and see what we can learn here.
His nickname is Kicker, and he walks into this El Monte pool hall with a swagger. He feels good here. It is a hangout for his gang, the Asian Boys, and he has a .45 caliber pistol tucked under his checkered shirt. What he doesn't know as he stands here talking to some girlfriends is it will be his last night alive. A short time later, about 20 members of a rival gang called Hua Qing come through the door at the upper left of your TV screen. Among them, Kicker's alleged executioner. Police identify him as 18-year-old Chu Luang Yang, an Upland High School dropout who refers to himself as China Dog. You see him here wearing the white T-shirt. And according to police reports obtained by Fox News, the Hua Qing gangsters were upset because the Asian Boys were mad-dogging them, staring at them. Witnesses say at one point there is an argument between Kicker, seen here on the left, and rival Hua Qing gang member Chris Ha. Ha says he and his friends started leaving after Kicker flashed the .45 kept at his belt. At this point, police records indicate one of the Hua Qing gangsters said, "Let's go. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. I'll put a bullet in his head for you." More words were exchanged while Hua Qing backed out, one pointing at Kicker in apparent anger. Kicker paces, seems to say something in return, and rubs his hands together. A short time later, Kicker, police say still working his mouth, passes in front of several watching gangsters who have not yet left. When he turns his back, China Dog grabs him and throws him to the floor. As they drag him toward the door, a half-dozen Asian boys, some with pool cues, try to stop the watching attack. There is no audio on the surveillance tape, but witnesses say the room was filled with screaming and yelling. An Asian boy nicknamed Mousy even grabs a .32 caliber pistol off a nearby pool table, but it jams when he comes back and tries to fire at rival Hua Ching. Investigators believe Kicker's gun was taken from him during this struggle. About the same time, the first gunman pops through the door and fires wildly into the crowded pool hall. Then, as Hua Ching coolly dragged Kicker outside, a second gunman steps through the door and starts firing. Police say it is China Dog Yang. Kicker reappears with a body tackle, but can't hold on. Gets 5 shots in his body while scrambling for cover. Then 2 fatal slugs in the head at close range.
Pretty gruesome, and there's a lesson to learn here. In fact, there's several lessons. I've got some notes here that I'll review. First and foremost, the young man who was shot thought that he was going to scare the bad guys away by flashing his gun. Bad mistake. Never tip your cards, if you will, to your threat. Never let them know what's coming. The gun is not going to be able to just quell the violence. In fact, a lot of times the gun escalates the violence, as we saw here. Because if the gun was not introduced, that young man may be alive today. It was really just a shouting match, a staring match, a little bit of machismo between young adult men. But as soon as the gun was introduced, a new element arrived. In fact, the gun by itself is not going to scare anybody away. As you saw, once he continued the action, that is, he thought that the firearm made him more powerful than they were. Even though he was a smaller man, he was so bold that he turned his back on the bad guys. And you saw what happened there. As he turned his back, the gun could have been a hammer, could have been just about anything, because once it's stuffed in your pants, hands are down at the side, and the muzzle is not pointed at the bad guys, the gun basically is just a piece of steel. And he was easily tossed onto his back by the larger man. Gun was easily taken away, and then they dragged him out without really much of a fight, even though the other bad guys or the other guys in his gang were trying to hit him with pool cues and all that. Well, it just didn't work, as you saw. So mistake number 4, once they had him out and once he was free, why didn't he just run away? Get out of there, because there was gunfire already taking place. Why did he not just get out of the scene? He came in and tried to tackle a larger man, obviously was not successful at all. And really the true mistake here, and something to learn here, that if you're at contact distance with a firearm and you want to gain control of that firearm or gain control of that person, there's only one way, and that's to grab hold of that slide or barrel. All right, this is the lever arm. We've seen and we've tested and we've practiced that if you grab hold of that lever arm, chances are you're going to be able to rip it out of the other man's hand, even if he is larger, even if he is stronger, because there's so much leverage here. If that finger's in there and you start ripping, the finger's coming with it. So the mistake here, as he went into that somewhat bear hug tackle, is that he did not control the muzzle. And I think at that time, if he would have grabbed hold of that muzzle, 2 things would have happened. One, he would have stopped the gun from cycling and made it inert, and the other guy was not going to be able to pull a shot off until he actually racked the round, giving you more time to get away. And 2, he could have very easily yanked that gun out of the man's hand and quite possibly saved his own life. Now, the other thing that I really want to start to observe here, as the young man who got shot starts to run away, the murderer picks up the gun, shoots. Do you notice a Weaver stance? Do you notice a sight picture? Do you notice any firearms training there? Not really. The fact is, he picked up that gun, pointed it with one arm, and squeezed the trigger very instinctively and placed 5 shots into a target running straight away, which brings us to our next point. Do you think the young man who got shot would have been more successful, would have been alive had he not run straight away from the threat? Straight as in pick up the gun, there he is, bang. Remember we talked about that. The movement should be off to an angle. Make that guy track you with the muzzle. Get out of the line of fire. Get out of the line of the muzzle. It was too easy of a shot. Now granted, the distances were, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 feet. An easy shot if the target's moving, or if the target is not moving and standing still, or if it's just right in front of the muzzle. As soon as you introduce the lateral movement, it makes it much more difficult to shoot. And then, of course, we saw once the young man got 5 shots into his body, fell to the ground, the murderer came around and took 2 close headshots and ended the scene. Could it have been different? Of course. What was the key element? Flashing the firearm, exposing the firearm, introducing the firearm into what was really just a shouting match. Pretty stupid mistake. And to further back that up, he should have evacuated, got away, left, especially when they came back into the bull hall. And never turn your back on what you perceive to be a threat. Never turn your back on what you think is someone who wants to do bodily harm to you. Always square up. Observe where they are and keep your distance. You saw what happened. 2 steps, the big guy threw him on the ground, took his gun. It can happen to anybody if you're not paying attention, and hopefully you'll learn that through these programs. And we're going to go ahead now and review another shooting incident and see what we can learn from that one. It's April 1995. 64-year-old convenience store owner Soom Kim was working behind the counter of his own store. His wife, Suk, was working with him. There are 2 bad guys in this scenario. The man with the basket walking up to the counter. As you can see in this camera angle, everything looks normal from here. His accomplice is the man wearing the striped shirt in the lower right hand of your screen. Almost at the same time the gun comes out, Mr. Kim slaps the muzzle away. The first bad guy didn't appear to want to shoot anyone. The second bad guy takes the gun and wildly shoots the first round into the wall behind Mr. Kim. As the store owner tries to protect himself by reaching under the counter for a baseball bat, the bad guy fires 3 rounds from near contact distance into his chest. Eventually, Mr. Kim falls to the ground as the bad guys make their exit. Okay, what we saw there is a 64-year-old convenience store owner gets shot at basically contact distance. And there's a couple things that I want to point out. First, if you see when the gun is first introduced that the business owner, the store owner, was able to slap it away. Again, think about this now. Action beats reaction. Out comes a gun. Instinctively, his hand comes up and moves it out of the way. He beat the bad guy to the punch. Had he been able to hold on to that muzzle, I think we'd have had a different scenario. I don't think that he even thought of holding on to the muzzle. I think a lot of people were afraid of that. Of course, the gun, the barrel, or the bullet comes out of that muzzle. So if you can get a hold of that firearm and hang on, especially at those close distances, it's going to be your only choice. If you see that gun, you can beat the guy to the punch. Your hand will be faster than his trigger finger. The key is don't let go of the gun. As we saw here, that first robber bad guy did not want to shoot. His partner picked up the gun, and as we see, he shot wildly, obviously not a trained shooter. But as we look at the incident as it progresses, you'll see that he assumes a 2-handed hold, and at a distance of probably less than 3 feet, shoots the store owner. Now, a couple things to observe here with the store owner. Notice that he did not die instantly. Notice that he did not fall over with 1 shot. We're talking a chest shot at contact distance. He still picked that baseball bat up, got shot again, raised the bat up again, got shot again. So the message here is that a bullet will not stop your action. You will not fall over and die instantly like in the movies. You can see it happen on this tape. This is a 64-year-old man who didn't appear to be in the top physical condition. So that little bullet going into his chest, while it did kill him, eventually it did not stop him. So if this man had a knife or was able to deploy that club, chances are the gun is not going to stop you with one shot. Now let's move on to the next scenario, the final scenario we're going to see, and we'll learn something else about movement and shooting. In a routine traffic stop, Trooper Lopez pulls over a car carrying 3 men. He speaks in Spanish to the suspects. The other 2 men get out of the car. Now, watch how close Officer Lopez comes to getting shot. The suspect reaches for his gun in his waistband. Lopez sees this, shoves the suspect, and then takes evasive action. Lopez's first shot finds its mark, and the gunman is wounded. But the gunfight continues as the other 2 suspects escape into the night. Lopez continues to shoot it out with the suspect and then takes cover in the darkness and makes his way back to his squad car. Miraculously, Trooper Lopez is not injured in this shootout. All right, what we saw there was a law enforcement officer who used his training, his instinct, and a little bit of luck to stay alive. Now, a couple things I want you to observe here as we re-roll this tape. First and foremost, he saw the bad guy starting to produce the firearm. First instance is to throw him off balance. He's at point contact distance. Now, he's throwing him off balance to gain distance. And if you'll notice that he, the law enforcement officer, is so attuned or so aware of the muzzle, he starts running in a circle, contorting his body in all different ways. So that's really the essence of what I'm trying to teach you here in this program, and what we're trying to learn about is movement, distance, and erratic movement, not just straight back, but out of the way of the muzzle is going to be your best ally. So you can see 2 things, too, that I think are very important. As the officer is escaping, he's drawing his firearm. And you'll notice that the bad guy gets shot with the first shot from the officer. Now let's talk about that first shot. Although we did not see the officer make the shot, I will guarantee you that it was a one-handed point. Probably not a lot of sight picture, probably not a lot of Weaver stance. It's a one-handed running. He got that gun and just pointed it back at the threat. Trust your instinct. Most of us have a very good pointing instinct. And this officer displayed that as his first shot connected. You can see the bad guy kind of take it. All right, now as the officer approaches, again, what is he doing? Gun in one hand, straight out, because that's normal. You walk that way. When things are happening, you can see that this officer is hyped up. The adrenaline has kicked in. He is on, and that's what you do. So when you go to the range to practice, do not forget one-handed shooting. Do not forget that if something really happens and you've got to move, you're not going to run around like this. It just is not natural. So the natural instinct to survive takes place. And there's one other thing I've got to point out here as we watch this tape again. You'll see at the end of the gunfight, the officer obviously takes cover behind his car and realizes that I can't really see where that bad guy is. There's some shots being fired. I better get more distance. I better go across the street. So if you notice what he did, he got away. And it's probably the smartest thing all of us could do. If a gun's introduced and you have cover, the bad guy's over on the other side, look behind you. Where can I go? Okay? I don't need to confront him. I don't need to shoot him. I don't want to be shot. I want to get away. Now, obviously, it won't work in every occasion. It won't work everywhere. But if you can get away, get more distance, get more time, your chance for survival is that much greater. And that is the object of this program. Movement first, shooting second, always surviving. All right? Keep in mind, you've got to train yourself to do these things. If someone pulls a gun on you today and you don't have any training, chances are you're going to freeze. You're going to stop and you're going to obey, because that's what you see on TV. Guy pulls a gun on you, oh, hands up, sorry. Well, that's not going to cut it in the real world. The real world is a dynamic situation. If I, the good guy, start to bring something dynamic to this situation, up comes the gun, I move out of the way, draw my gun before the bad guy has a chance to even know what's happening, hey, now we've got a whole brand new ball game. So again, train yourself both in a dry fire situation and a live fire situation. See the bad guys, move, block, hand comes up, shoot. All right? Let's do it one more time. Move, block, hoot. It all takes practice, practice, practice. There's the bad guy. Hoot, hoot, hoot. And that's what you want. You want it to be automatic. So that hand comes up to block, you're moving, you're drawing, you're shooting, all at the same time. Move, shoot, and live. That's the objective. I'm Lenny McGill. I want to thank you for watching this program, and I sincerely hope that something you've learned here today will help you survive a gunfight if you happen to be in one. Safe shooting.